G'day guys, welcome back to a special edition of My Blue Heaven. It's an October edition of My Blue Heaven. I promised that I'd have an extended break and that's what I've done. I'm refreshed and I'm ready to go for what will be a huge trade and national draft period for our football club, and already the news has come through, obviously, over the last couple of weeks with Zach Williams. Yes, Zach Williams choosing Carlton as his destination, free agent. And then not long after that, Adam Sard, the bomber, the former Sun, has chosen Carlton as a place where he wants to spend the rest of his career on a 5-year contract. So those deals need to get done. The Williams one, that's just a formality. That free agency period will start on the 30th of October. That will go for a week. Then we're into the trade period. And then what will happen? What will happen with Adam Sard? We'll just have to wait and see. I'm not here to speak about that though. I'm projecting right to the 7th of December. Yes, the 7th of December, because it's been pushed back a couple of weeks. That is the national draft and also the rookie draft, which will take place on the same day. And at this stage, guys, we have picked 7, 27, 45 and 81. Now that's still 6 weeks away, so a lot can happen in that time, particularly throughout the trade period. And what our draft picks will look like when we go to the national draft, we don't know. We still don't know. We still really got no idea what will get the deal done for Adam Sard. Will we have to split 7? Will we give away 7 plus a player? We'll just have to wait and see. But what we do know is that we will not have 7, 27, 45 and 81. Guarantee those numbers, those draft picks will change by the time we get to 7th of December. So I'm here to talk about what we are probably going to do with what I would think. I would think that and there's also some talk that there's another player that we're interested in, a fairly good footballer as well. So I've got a feeling we're going to take maybe at best a mid-range draft picks and some later picks to the national draft in 2020. I don't think we're going to have a first-round draft pick this time around. I think we did that last year when we picked up Brody Kemp, Phil Ramsey and Honey. I think we're pretty content with the young players we've got on the list at the moment. And I think we're going to go for some mature age recruits in the national draft. And I've got my eye on a Smokey, and I'm going to talk about him in this episode. So that is 6 weeks' time. I want to get in early because I'm very, very excited about this footballer and what I've seen over the last month, and I've been watching him very closely. And he's a mature age player. He's 21 years of age. He just turned 21. He's been playing in the Sandful for the last couple of years. In fact, this is his 3rd season in the Sandful. And he had an outstanding season playing for Woodville, West Torrens. And he's a premiership player from the weekend. And his name is James Rowe. And he's a small forward. He was the leading goal kicker in the Sandful this year, and he had an outstanding final series. Let's just go through a little bit of a profile. James Rowe, 21 years of age, as I mentioned. The knock on him is his size. He only stands at 173 centimetres, which is a centimetre shorter than Eddie Betts, but he's weighing around about 72, 73 kilos. So he's no lightweight. He carries a little bit of size. It's an area which you probably would like to just trim down a little bit. Obviously, playing in a competition where he's a semi-professional footballer. Fantastic comp for Sandful, don't get me wrong, but he'd be working plus training 2 to 3 nights a week. So he's not an elite in an elite training program. So that would be an area he will need to improve, and something he will improve on once he gets into an elite program and an elite football club. And I am sure, 100% sure, that this kid will go to a club, one of the 18 clubs this season, and that's James Rowe. He is the son of former Crow Stephen Rowe, who played the 29 games for the Crows between 1991 and 1995, and then went on to play 185 games for Norwood across 10 years and was a Norwood Premiership player. Originally out of WA from South Fremantle, but he's more known now for his media work in South Australia. He's part of the Drive radio program with Mark Bickley on 5AA. But I'm here not to talk about Stephen Rowe. I'm here to talk about his son, James, because I've watched him very closely in the Sandford Final Series, and he is very impressive. So you're probably asking the question, why, okay, if I'm so excited about a 21-year-old 173 midget forward who's never been picked up, why would I be so excited? So I've tried to do a little bit of homework, and let's put it on the table now. Not every player gets picked up. Not every player is ready to come into the system when they're 18 years old, and players do get overlooked. Okay, so he's just not come out of the blue. He's been building for 3 or 4 seasons now, and he's got to the point where he's ready. He's ready to go. And I can see him being a fantastic fit for our football club. We are in the market for a small forward, been in the market for a small forward for a couple of seasons now. We missed out on Papley, and I still don't think we've addressed it properly. So I think this kid, given an opportunity, he's worth a punt. So let's have a look at his timeline. 2017, as obviously as an 18-year-old, he represented South Australia in the Under-18 National Championships, where he played the 4 games and he averaged 19 touches and kicked 3 goals. So he played more as a midfielder in the Under-18 Championships, and missed out, obviously, on being drafted in that year. Was an overlooked, and then went to Woodville West Torrens in the Sandford, who were called the Eagles. In 2018, and spent most of the year playing in the reserves, but made his debut in that season and impressed in a few games in 2018. But it wasn't until last year in 2019 that he started to come of age as a 20-year-old, and started to establish himself as a senior footballer, playing I think he played the 17 games and kicked 37 goals as a small forward in his first real season in senior football, and averaged 13 touches. And if you look at a player in contrast who got picked up by the Cats in last year's rookie draft in Brad Close, who played 8 games this season and was unlucky to be dropped, and could quite possibly be playing in the grand final for Geelong this weekend. He got picked up out of the Sandford from Glenelg, Premiership player, and it was exactly the same age when he got picked up, 21 years of age, but only kicked 13 goals from the 21 games. So as far as numbers go, this kid is every bit as good, I think, as someone like Brad Close. And I'll talk about his attributes in a minute in terms of his strengths and a few weaknesses, what I've noticed, okay, over the final series. And then this year was the real breakout year for James Rowe. He played the 17 games. Now, the sample this year I think they had 14 home and away games, which is a really good sample size for a season, considering I think the Waffle only had the 9 games plus finals. He ended up playing the 17 games, 3 finals and 14 home and away games, and kicked 47 goals in 17 games to win. Okay, he was the leading goal kicker in the competition as a small forward. Absolutely outstanding. Did not go without a game without kicking a goal, and I think he bagged 5 on a couple of occasions, a couple of bags of 4. And he knows how to find the pill as well. Averaged 16 disposals at 70% disposal efficiency, but more importantly, it was his efficiency in front of goal, running at 81% scoring accuracy. So it's a really, really good numbers from a small forward. And in the final series, which I watched, and I sort of fell upon, I was actually looking for some footy to watch post our season, and I just happened to put 7+ on, and bang, there was the Sandford, the semi-final, the first semi-final between North Adelaide and Woodville West Torrens, and here's this kid running around in this final. And he kicked a couple of goals in that first semi-final that got beat. Then they had to go through the prelim final, Woodville West Torrens, where they played South Adelaide, and he absolutely dominated in that game. He was outstanding. He turned the game on its head in the third quarter, where he kicked 3 goals in a matter of 5 minutes, just with crafty small forward play. He kicked the 5 and had 22 touches in a prelim final against quality opposition. And then in the grand final on the weekend, which they ended up winning, they turned the tables on North Adelaide and had a massive win. He was a great contributor again with 2 goals and 15 touches and set up 4 others. So across the finals, he ended up kicking 9 goals and had the 55 touches in 3 games. There's predominantly a small forward who can spend a small amount of time through the midfield. So let me tell you about what really excited me about this kid and why over the last 3 or 4 weeks that I've fallen in love with him. And I've just got my fingers crossed that we're into him as a football club. And Nick Austin, who I know is working really hard, obviously, with his recruiting team. Obviously a trade period is going to be big for the football club. And then we had all the stuff today with Stephen Silvani and some of the stuff he said wasn't ideal, but we've got to move forward. It's a big period for our football club. So let's talk about some of the strengths that I saw, that I noticed about this kid that I think can make the grade and can make us a better football club next season. Okay, his footy smarts are elite. Okay, this is a natural footballer, I suppose, in the mould of a Michael Gibbons, but with probably more of a nous of a small forward. Okay, whereas Gibbo's more your midfielder type. James Rose, your natural small forward, footy nous in front of the big sticks. He's got great hands, and he's fantastic on both sides of his body. He's a fairly good mark over his head for his size, so in the mould there of, say, a Tom Papley, but he wouldn't have that explosive power of Tom Papley, but he's good overhead, and he hits the scoreboard consistently, and he knows where the sticks are. Some players have got this great ability just to know where they are, okay, just to know where the goals are. He turns his opponent inside out, and he's got this uncanny knack to find the goals. He's always involved in the play, and he's always, what I noticed in those 3 games, a constant headache. And let's put this into context. The Sandful, it's probably just a slight level down from the VFL, but it's a very good competition. And he wouldn't be the first mature age recruit to come out of the Sandful who's performed very well in finals football. I can think of a Paul Piopolo. It happened to him. I can think of Nick Dygan. It happened to him as well. Okay, there's a lot of very good footballers who get an opportunity, mature age footballers who've taken a little bit of time to get their opportunity to become very good AFL footballers. He's got great evasion. And the knock on him from his early days out of the under-18 competition and why he didn't get drafted was because of his size. But what I saw with his size is actually an advantage for him because it enables him to get in and out of traffic in the mould of, say, like someone like Caleb Daniel. Very hard to get a hand on. And because he's actually quite well built, he's actually quite strong in the core, so he keeps his feet, he doesn't go to the ground. But what I like about him, he's got fantastic personality, attitude, he's got the spunk factor, and he wants, I obviously don't know him personally, but to me, he looks like a footballer who wants to be out there. He wants to be on the big stage, and all these finals were played on the Adelaide Oval, and the grand final was played, in front of a big crowd on the Adelaide Oval, and he didn't look overawed at all. He plays with a smile on his face, but he plays with a little bit of, I wouldn't say aggression, but with attitude that he wants to own the opportunity. And the knock on a lot of our players, and if you followed this show right the way through since I've started, a lot of the knock, I believe, on a lot of our young players is they lack confidence and they lack belief. And it's almost Without mentioning too many names, but just someone like David Cunningham, for example, I think's got fantastic ability. But to me, someone like David Cunningham, he looks like he doubts himself. And you look at him and you think, do you really want to be out there, Cunners? Do you really want to be out there? Do you get that as a supporter? Do you get that impression on some footballers like a Lockie O'Brien or a Paddy Down? Do you think, do you actually really want to be out there? You know, like, where's the passion? Okay, where is the enthusiasm? And this kid's got it in truckloads. He celebrates like no other. He gets the crowd involved. And I think he's the type of player who get in the face of the opposition as well. But he can back it up with his football ability. So there's obviously weaknesses. You don't get to 21 years of age and get overlooked, you know, in a couple of drafts. Like last year, there was an opportunity to get picked up, which he didn't on the back of a good season and obviously in his draft year. So what are the knocks? The size was a knock originally. What I gather is there's not you don't look at him as a modern day small forward, like he's got that nous and he's clever and he can kick goals, but the modern day small forward has got that manic defensive pressure type game, the run down tackles, and I didn't see a lot of that. But at the same time, I think when you're playing in a competition like that, the SANFL, when you've dominated from a goal point of view, 47 goals from 17 games, excuse me, that maybe he's got this belief in his own ability that and not saying he's lazy and he won't do that, okay, because he puts his head over the pill and he's not scared. It's just not something that stood out for me in regards to, I wouldn't say that, 8 tackles or he just, he was running opponents down. It's almost like he didn't need to because the other side of his game was so strong. So if that's something that would need to be worked on. And I think with better fitness, maybe that's something that is a weakness that I don't know about, which I noticed. And obviously his fitness as well. Now, I don't know. Google him. There's plenty of highlights of James Rowe on YouTube. I don't know if it's puppy fat. I don't know if it's his body shape. Maybe he's cut the ribbons underneath his football jumper. I don't know. But you get the impression with some players that they just look a little bit out of shape. Like he doesn't seem to have the defined biceps and he just looks like, sort of like country footballer, okay? So I think you would need to work on that part of his game as well in terms of his aerobic ability and his fitness, and you'd like to see him spend a little bit of time in the midfield as well. But I just wanted to jump on and share that with you. So James Rowe, keep an eye out for him. I'm thinking, I've just got this feeling that other clubs are going to be into him. I really do. I really hope that we are, as I mentioned. And I got a feeling that we're going to have. I don't reckon we're going to have any first round draft picks. I don't even think we're going to have a second round draft pick. I reckon that 27 is going to go as well, unless we're going to work in future draft picks for next year. I'm not quite sure. I got a feeling our first picks, and how many, we don't know list sizes yet. We don't even know. I don't think this kid is going to get through to the rookie drafts. I don't. And if we're into him, I don't know whether we take a chance and wait to the rookie draft with him. But they would know. Nick Austin and his team would know if other clubs are into this kid or not. I'm thinking I'd like to take a punt on someone like James Rowe. And what I've seen, and it's only 3 games throughout the final series, but I'd be thinking maybe a third round draft pick, anywhere between, say, pick 45 and 60 for James Rowe. Okay, so that's my thoughts. But keep an eye out for my draft, Smokey, James Rowe. From the Waffle, when I watched the Waffle Grand Final, they only played the 9 games this season, the 9 home and away games. I think that's right. I'm sure someone will come on and correct me. And then they played their final series, and what a magnificent grand final the Waffle Grand Final was this year. It was played between Claremont, who've got the Carlton emblem on the front of their jumpers, and South Fremantle. It was a great game of football. There was only one player who really stood out in that game, and he won the medal on the losing team. He was best on the ground in the losing team, and that was Jai Bolton. He was a class above anyone who played in that game. Now, he's been on the radar of a lot of clubs now for 4 or 5 seasons. He's a McGarry, is that right? McGarry or Sandover? Sandover, what's the, is it McGarry or Sandover? I get mixed up. I think it might be McGarry. Anyway, he's the lead, the Brownlow medal winner in the Waffle a couple of years. I think he's won it a couple of years. And his grand final was out of this world. If you've watched the Waffle grand final, he dominated. And if we're looking for a ready-made midfielder who can come into the system and provide a little bit of support, I doubt he will get that opportunity. I'd be happy if we took a punt on someone like Jai Bolton as well. But he's been around a while now, and I think he was on Collingwood's list at one stage as well as a rookie. And I know he played a lot of AFL football at Werribee. And finally, guys, the other guy that I was really impressed with in the Sample Grand Final playing for Woodville West Torrens, the same club as James Rowe, who was best on the ground. He got the medal as best on the ground in the Sample Grand Final. And I thought he was best on ground in the prelim as... Oh, no, actually, James Rowe was best on the ground in the prelim. But he was outstanding in the prelim as well. I think it's Jordan Foote. So keep an eye out for Jordan Foote as well. He kicked 4 and had 25 disposals in the grand final. And he's a former Sydney rookie. He's 24 years of age. He was outstanding. He was outstanding as well. So, but James Rowe is the one. I've said it, and hopefully it comes to fruition. And hopefully we're all over him like a cheap suit. Great to join you. Hopefully I'll be back soon.